Mikal Bridges has shut all the haters up, and I'm here to break it all down. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel from Knicks Digest. Let's get right into today's video. So, of course, the Knicks just finished beating the Indiana Pacers by the score of 123-98, and Mikal Bridges came out the gate firing. So after all the Knicks fans were being super worried about the way he was shooting in that game one against the Boston Celtics, he came back tonight, finishing the game with 21 points, 8 of 12 from the field, 2 of 3 from three-point land, and converting 3 of his 4 free throws. Now, after game one against Boston, I'm not going to lie, I was a little worried about Mikal specifically as far as the game and the way the team came to play. I don't really know if there was much they could have done. The Boston Celtics, it looked like they didn't even miss a beat, man. They hit everything. They hit every shot that they took. And if they faced the Lakers, if they faced the Philadelphia 76ers, the Bucks, the Denver Nuggets, whatever team the Boston Celtics were going to face on opening night, and if they shot like that, they were going to beat that team. So I'm not, after that game one loss, I'm not super worried. But as far as Mikal Bridges in that game, his shot looked a little funky. But I'm glad that he came back strong and he looked really good, man. That hitch didn't really look like it was there. So I'm not sure if he's just reverting back to his old ways. But tonight, Mikal Bridges definitely looked a lot better than game one. And Karl-Anthony Towns finished the game with 21 points, 5 of 11 from the field, 2 of 2 from three-point land, converting 9 of his 10 free throws. The 2 3-pointers, I like that. I like 2 3-pointers. Of course, in today's NBA landscape, you want maybe a good 3-point shooter to take a little bit more. But you guys know my gripe with Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he lives behind the perimeter a little bit too much. I liked his game tonight. He mixed it up a lot. He had a few low post points where it was a baby hook, right hand and left hand. I like how Karl-Anthony Towns looked in tonight's game. I mean, Jalen Brunson, what can we say? 26 points, 10 of 19 from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point line, 3 of 4 from his free throws. Jalen Brunson is just picking up right where he left off. I think it was Benedict Mathurin in the first half or Andrew Nesmith, one of those two. In the first half, there was guarding him. Jalen Brunson got the and one, and he was telling everybody to get this dude off me. Jalen Brunson, our leader, our best player. Overall, I just liked how the Knicks looked, especially after a whooping in game one against the Boston Celtics. Besides Mikal Bridges, I do want to bring up and talk about just the depth of this team. Deuce McBride in game one had a really good game, 21 points. And I think if the Knicks are going to take an important step in this season, I think Deuce McBride is going to have to really pick up his game. So in game one, he had a really good game. In tonight's game, he finished the game with 8 points, 3 of 4 from the field, 2 of 2 from three-point line. But in the first half, he had like a weird knee jerk situation where the floor was slippery and he went up for a layup and it looked like he hyperextended his knee, but he seemed fine. He went to the locker room for, I think, a quarter and then he came back out. So that's why he didn't really have a bigger game tonight. He didn't have a lot of minutes. But in game one, I was so impressed with Deuce. And if Deuce is going to play with that confidence, it's just a different Deuce. Last season, time and time again, Chris and I were talking about who's going to be the player to step up. And as the season prolonged, I looked at Deuce, and Deuce just looked like he was getting confidence little by little. And at times, it looked like he was playing to not make a mistake. But in game one, 22 points against the Boston Celtics. I think he was perfect from the field at one point. And then in tonight, even though he didn't play a lot of minutes because of that weird knee jerking, slippery floor situation, he still looked good, man. Whenever he's taking those shots, it looks like he has confidence behind those shots. It doesn't look like he's nervous to shoot because Coach Tibbs is going to take him out. I think Deuce is going to be the player where he's going to be a very important piece going down the stretch of the season. As far as the rest of the bench, I mean, there were times where Jericho Sims was in there, Cameron Payne was in there, and I don't know, man. I was just thinking, like, what are we gonna do when the playoffs come around? Again, this is super duper early in the season, I know, but of course, like Knicks fans, we're always hoping for the best. We're always wishing for the best. And when you pull off a trade, getting Karl-Anthony Towns, who's in the conversation, not in the conversation for best big man, but he's definitely in the top 3-4 conversation. So when you pull off a trade like that, then yeah, the expectations are going to be big. So that's where I'm at. Which brings me to my next point. There was a moment in today's telecast where Deuce is mic'd up and they're showing him just talking to his teammates, and he was talking to Ariel Hukporti, and he was telling Hukporti that like they were up by like 25 at that point with, I don't know, 3 minutes left in the game. And Deuce was telling Hukporti that like, yo, it doesn't matter how many points we're up by. It doesn't matter if the game's going to be over in 50 seconds. Like, Coach Tibbs, this is where he develops trust with you. Just play hard, get your rotations right. And then I think the next play, you see Hukporti just swatting a shot, some rookie from the Indiana Pacers going down the lane. And I'm saying all that to say the backup big position, that's another key part of the season. Right now, Precious Achiuwa is out with a hamstring injury. Oh, and Josh Hart looked like he had a hamstring injury, but he played through it. So we'll be waiting to see the reports on Josh Hart. Hopefully he's fine. It's a little stinger and he's able to move on. But going back to Hukporti and Jericho Sims, like Chris is always talking about it. Matt is always talking about it. Should Hukporti be the first big man coming off the bench rather than Jericho Sims? Hukporti in tonight's game, even though the minutes were super limited, he only played 6 minutes. He had no field goal attempts. He had no three-point field goal attempts, no free throws. He had, 1 rebound, and he had 2 blocks. I know there's not really a lot to go off of, but Jericho Sims played 15 minutes. He finished with 1 bucket, 2 points, 1 of 1 from the field, no three-pointers, no free throws, 2 rebounds. I don't know. Matt and Chris, they were talking about having Hukporti, the first big man off the bench. When Precious comes back, it's going to be him. But with a hamstring, you never know how long that's going to be. So for right now, I don't know, man. I like Jericho Sims. I like his potential and his raw athleticism. But we've seen Jericho Sims be the type of player he is. He's just like the player that's running around, setting screens, finishing alley-oop plays. Hukporti, in the super limited minutes that he's played, not even in just the first 2 games, and going back to the preseason, like we see Hukporti being able, his skills are a little better than Jericho Sims. So that's just something interesting that caught my eye. And last but not least, I talked about the bench and I talked about the depth, but to get a little bit more specific, Cam Payne finished the game with 7 points, played 22 minutes tonight, 3 of 9 from the field, 1 of 5 from three-point line. He had 1 free throw, which he missed. He had two rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. Man, like I said, there were times in that game where Cam Payne was out there, Deuce was out there, Sims was out there, and I think Mikal or Josh Hart was out there. And I was just like, man, who is scoring? And Cam Payne took it upon himself to launch some 3-pointers. I've never really been a huge Cam Payne fan. He's wearing a Knicks jersey, so obviously I'm going to be rooting for him this season. But I'm going to keep saying this, man. Every time in the offseason where Cam Payne gets picked up from free agency, or if there's a trade in the middle of the season and Cam Payne is a part of it, the team that's getting him is always saying that Cam Payne coming off your bench is instant offense. And then if you take a look at his last few postseasons with the Milwaukee Bucks, with the Phoenix Suns, last year he was with the 76ers, what was he able to do? And during the regular season, Cam Payne might be good for you, but again, it's all going to come down to in middle of April when the playoffs start. What is Cam Payne going to bring? Is he going to be able to command a team, run the offense for the second unit? Is he going to be out there just throwing up shots? Like, I don't know what Cam Payne, and hopefully as the season prolongs, hopefully Cam Payne could just settle into his role. Again, it's only the second game. I'm glad we got the W. Biggest takeaways, Mikal Bridges looks like he's back on track. Deuce McBride looks like super confident in this season, which I'm very impressed by. The big man coming off the bench is going to be an interesting storyline for the rest of the season. The Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, I don't know what's going on with him. I think he was an offer for tonight, 3-pointer and the regular field. So Tyrese Halliburton is slowly but surely, I feel like he's becoming the Reggie Miller. I thought it was going to be Trae Young, but with him playing for the Pacers, it's just like it's a super easy fit. He already plays for the Pacers. We already have history with that team. So, and Tyrese Halliburton is going to be enemy number 1. But Great win tonight, guys. We are back on track, 1-1 after getting blown out by the Boston Celtics. We pick it back up in tonight's win against the Indiana Pacers. And until next time, guys, you know the drill, you know the vibes. Jalen Brunson for MVP. The Deuce is loose for co-MVP. Taj Gibson for president, even though you play for the Charlotte Hornets. And Mikal Bridges for Defensive Player of the Year. And until next time, I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.